I said to Mycoplasma I don't want to stop having sex with you and she said me neither and for 2 weeks straight without rest I had non-stop sex with Mycoplasma and I loved everything about Mycoplasma. She's gorgeous and curvy with pale white skin and she looks like a beautiful princess and I love her and she said I know I'm pregnant now I can feel it and I said good I meant to do that and then she said I am not done yet and then she started sucking my member again slowly until I came in her mouth again and then I had sex with her again in every position and then I married Mycoplasma and that closed the circle on my women. I don't want or need any more wives since I found out how tiresome it is to have sex with a lot of beautiful women but I love doing it a little too much and then pretty soon I started hearing about Garo killing more monsters and I smirked and said good you're learning kid. I am now in my late 20s. I'm 28 years old and I feel I've accomplished a lot and I even graduated college and high school unlike my father Saitama who claimed he graduated high school years ago and I wonder how old dad really is because I'm not even really sure if he ages or not and I thought I'm going to teach my dad Saitama how to use ki energy and I smirked when I thought about his unlimited potential and powers since he has no limits. His soul is also invincible making his powers nearly infinite like mine but my powers are beyond ridiculous just like my father's and then it was now time for the tournament and this time dad didn't wear a disguise because he didn't have to and people like Moomin Rider decided to show up and fight but he's not experienced in martial arts or martial arts tournaments and I said hi Moomin Rider how are you and Moomin said Master Lionheart hello it's good to see you again and I said great to see you too kiddo and he asked me so are you going to be in tournament Master Lionheart and then I said yes I will be there because of my father Saitama mostly I'm going to fight him and my student Garo should be here soon I suppose and then Garo appeared behind me and I said hello Garo and he said so you saw me already and I said yes I did I can smell you I see really far away Garo I'm not human remember and he said yes I remember master are you in the tournament and I said of course I am because I heard about this arrogant fighter named Suiryu I want to train him and fight him in this tournament and then I saw Shiranko and I said what are you doing here kid and he bowed down and said Master Lionheart I didn't know you were here and I said I am participating because of Garo I'm keeping an eye on him because Master Bang is too old to do it but what are you doing here boy you're unprepared you're not ready you're going to get yourself killed have you mastered Bang's fighting style yet and then Shiranko said no but I've been doing your training every day Master Lionheart I'm not a weakling anymore and I said fine but if you get hurt it's on you kid and Bang not me you're an adult now but you better be careful and Shiranko said I will Master Lionheart I promise and I went to the locker room where I saw many fighters and they were all looking at me because they know who I am especially since all the martial arts masters taught me everything they know about martial arts and they all know about my impossible fighting style Drish Shastra and all of them got intimidated and some were even angry and then Suiryu said hello and then I interrupted him quickly and I said I know your name is Suiryu and he stuck his hand out and I shook it nice to meet you kid and he said I always wanted to fight the strongest hero and I laughed and I said I am also a master martial artist don't get cocky kid you ain't hot shit and besides I'm faster than you are and I removed his armband quickly without him feeling it or seeing it and then all of the martial artists stood up and got upset and I said what sit back down and then they all sat down and I said I will see you all in the ring bring your A game and I walked away and I waved bye with one hand and then they stuck me in the same ring with Moomin Rider and Moomin Rider looked upset and he said damn it I don't want to fight him right now and I walked into the ring and I sighed and I said it's okay kid you just have to try your best that's all just try to come at me with everything you got without destroying everything and then the bell rung and Moomin Rider ran forward fast and I had to block and my arms went numb from that punch and I said he's getting stronger and I said you've been training and he said of course I have I never stopped training and I said good and then we both started moving across the ring at incredible speeds cracking the ring as we threw punches and then the kid hit me with a big right hook and I started bleeding and I said interesting and I started laughing and I said I think I'm going to have to get a bit serious and then I powered up my ki a bit.